Thank you so much, Mr. O'Rourke, and thank you very much for putting together this time to talk about what's really a very important issue, and with all of the things going on, something that's even got a little bit lost. For the region I represent in San Diego, the border is an economic engine. It's a job creator. Home to the Otay Mesa, San Ysidro, and Tecate ports of entry, San Diego Baja is the busiest border crossing in the world. And from life sciences to electronics, San Diego is an attractive place to start a business and to manufacture goods, in part because of our proximity to border crossing and international trade. And last month, Mr. O'Rourke and other members of the Congressional Border Caucus and I held a hearing with local leaders from chambers of commerce from around our districts to discuss real pragmatic solutions and issues around the border. And I was joined by Jerry Sanders, who San Diegans well know as the former mayor. He was also the former police chief of San Diego and now the current president of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. And during that hearing, Mayor Sanders said that an efficient border is a safe border, and he knows something about safety from his time as a police chief. We also know that 99% of what gets screened at border crossings is safe, and there's no need to worry about it coming into the country. So what we need is to get more efficient at approving the 99% of safe cargo and travelers, and better at stopping the 1% that we don't want to come in. You know, one of the big challenges that we faced when I first came to Congress was border delays. We saw from the delays at the border crossing were costing us, at that point, $7.2 billion of economic activity in our county, 35,000 jobs annually, numbers so big that they're almost unbelievable. But those numbers came from independent assessments. And one of the great successes I've had in Congress, working with my colleagues in our congressional delegation, was to work together to secure more than $500 million to finish the expansion and the improvements at the San Ysidro border crossing. And we did that working with Democrats Juan Vargas and Susan Davis, and with Republicans Duncan Hunter and Darrell Issa, because we all understood how important the border is, the United States-Mexico border is, to our regional economy. And by investing in infrastructure and innovation in San Diego, Tijuana, and across the border, we're keeping Americans safe and supporting the export of goods made in America by American workers. And in San Diego and other communities, we're embracing this forward-looking approach, this approach of opportunity and job creation. But now, President Trump wants to put us in reverse by building a wall, which we've assessed at $15 billion. I mean, I've heard estimates from $8 billion to $20 billion. By any count, it's a waste of money. Well, let's say for purposes of argument, it's $15 billion. It took Congress more than a year to approve $170 million to help Flint, Michigan recover from a crisis that has poisoned children and left an entire city without clean water. $170 million compared to $15 billion for a wall that nobody needs. Now we're talking about spending 100 times that money for Flint to build a wall that will do nothing to make us more secure, to make our children safer, to make us more prosperous. $15 billion is exactly how much the American Society of Civil Engineers says we will need to fill the funding gap for infrastructure needs at all of our nation's ports for the next decade. So if you took the money you're going to spend on this wall, and you could cover all the investment we need in our ports around the country for the next decade. We're going to spend it on a wall. $15 billion is also 3 times as much money as the federal government spends to help the homeless every year. And for the cost of this wall, we could build the Navy the 11th aircraft carrier that it needs. For 60 times less, or 1/60th, we could finish the modernization of the Mesa border crossing, which is the 3rd busiest commercial port of entry along our southern border and facilitates $35 billion in trade every year. What are we doing here, right? So unlike President Trump's wall, this investment will support long-term job creation and increase revenues, and is a much more responsible way to spend Americans' taxpayer dollars. And let's be clear, American taxpayers are going to foot the bill for this wall, not Mexico. It's the leader of the Senate and Speaker Ryan who've come and committed they're going to spend $15 billion on this wall. That's American taxpayers. That's not Mexico. Instead of trying to turn his rhetoric, his campaign rhetoric, into policy, we would prefer that President Trump listen to those who understand what business is like at the border, who understand that border cities are safe, like El Paso, like San Diego, and that the border is an opportunity for America, not a threat. We don't need a wall. We need to hire more customs officers. We need newer screening technologies. We need to modernize and expand our infrastructure at other border crossings like we're already doing at San Ysidro. That's how you would create jobs in America. That's how you would keep us safe. I want to thank my friend Beto O'Rourke for his leadership and for hosting this conversation today. I look forward to working with you to divert this money from this silly proposal, this dangerous proposal, to the kinds of things, investments that our country needs from Texas to California. Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. I yield.